Hi, and welcome to Random Thoughts and Views with Jan. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about the rise and fall of hip-hop DJ and radio personality Tim Westwood, and the allegations that have been doing the rounds for decades within the UK's black community. Serious allegations that would eventually go viral on X, formerly known as Twitter, in 2020. Throughout his career as a highly sought-after and privileged hip-hop DJ and radio personality, Tim could also be described as a gatekeeper. In fact, he was a major gatekeeper when it came to the genre and the business of hip-hop. Westwood, a polarizing character, was the DJ the biggest rappers in American hip-hop visited and paid homage to.
Westwood. Tim Westwood. Westwood. Tim Westwood. 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 Tim Westwood. Tim Westwood TV. My man Tim Westwood. Westwood, you know what we doing here.
So Tim Westwood was kind of the king of hip-hop in the UK. He made a name for himself largely through rap and hip-hop. He promoted it heavily on the various radio stations and club nights that he had. He worked for the BBC for nearly 20 years, and he basically went to the US in the early days of hip-hop, made lots of contacts, and then kind of had this position of absolute power in the UK.
The 2007 Mobo, the best DJ, Tim Westwood.
So I want to thank you for that, baby. Yeah.
Because of the platform that the BBC gave him, that position was cemented. The women that we spoke to said he had absolute power. He could make or break your career. You name big, huge black artists wanted to spend time in their studio talking about absolutely anything, they would only do an interview with Tim Westwood. Therefore, to have this white guy totally not only love the music, but be respected by people within that industry was a big deal.
Tim was also hailed and applauded for bringing black music to a wider audience in the UK. This went on for decades. Well, that is until now. Tim, a white middle-class vicar's son from Suffolk, began his career in the late 1970s, playing music in clubs and on pirate radio in London, before moving to Capital Radio in the 1980s. He later joined BBC One in 1994 and also hosted a show on black music's sister station, BBC Radio 1 Extra. As hip-hop grew in popularity and changed sound throughout the years, so did Tim's voice and persona. This is what he sounded like in 1984 on pirate radio station LWR 92.5 FM.
It's 11 minutes past 10 on a Wednesday night. This is the Hip Hop Show. And in tonight's show, we've got the usual menu of great music. Some new releases, one from the Tommy Boy label, the new B-Beat Girls, one from Ian Darby and the Wilson Dodgers. We'll be getting into the soundtracks from the motion pictures of Beat Street and The Breakdancer, and getting back into the album by Run DMC. We've got news and information on the Zulu Nation and the hip-hop scene. And I'll be giving you a full report on the Spats Challenge. That's the challenge which happened last Saturday lunchtime at Spats in Oxford Street. The showdown contest between the Sidewinders and the SAS. And for everyone who was there, they'll know that was explosive. And a dynamite mixtape by the Imperial Mixer. And he's going to be voted the new master of the turntables.
Years later, Tim would sound like this.
It's your boy Westwood back with a brand new series of Pimp My Ride UK. Now my man Minus is a parking warden but an aspiring video director. But his joint is killing him. We need to turn his ride from low budget to blockbuster.
And as well as you, I'm a white person in hip hop. So I get my fair share of criticism in terms of what I do, in terms of how I do it. And you being, very prominent in the UK scene, and you're the most prominent name in there, and you present yourself in a certain type of way, you hear people criticizing the way you talk, your mannerisms,
but the way
like that.
The way you talk, my brother, it's like I live this, man.
Right.
This is me, man. This is what I do. It's like one of the greatest newsreaders was Trevor Phillips. He used to read the news for the news at 10, and he was like a Jamaican of Jamaican descent, but he read it in like a real correct English accent. He didn't read it like a yardie. He didn't go, wow, it's the 10 o'clock news, what, go on. He didn't talk crazy like that. He talked like a newsreader should talk.
Yeah.
I'm a friggin' hip-hop DJ. How am I meant to talk?
I agree.
Like, how am I meant to rip down a club? Am I meant to sound like anything different?
Listen to this fool. Imagine Tim, who has immersed himself into black culture, did not know the difference between Trevor McDonald and Trevor Phillips, two black men of different generations and who don't look alike at all. Trevor McDonald is from Trinidad, not Jamaica. He later became a highly respected and revered newsreader. Trevor Phillips was born in Islington, North London, and his parents were from Guyana. He is a British writer, broadcaster, and former politician who served as chair of the London Assembly from 2000 to 2001 and from 2002 to 2003. He presented Trevor Phillips on Sunday, a Sunday morning talk show on Sky News from 2021 to 2022, and currently presents Sunday morning on Sky News. Tim's popularity on radio opened doors to TV work. He hosted the MTV UK series Pimp My Ride UK from 2005 to 2007. But in my opinion, the American version of the show, the original hosted by the rapper Exhibit, was all we needed. The UK version was a poor imitation and just unnecessary. In September 2013, Tim left BBC Radio 1 and BBC One Extra. The announcement of his departure was made on July 26, 2013, after nearly 20 years with the broadcaster. Charlie Sloth, who is also white, went on to replace Tim, hosting the biggest hip-hop show in the country. It was believed at the time that Tim was forced to leave the BBC to make room for Sloth.
I just say how it is. I told him to his face, I'm not going to go in the office and say that I'm coming to take my man's jobs and not tell him to his face. I looked him in his eyes. I said, my guy, I'm going to take all of your jobs.
Right.
He's like, Joe, get out of my studio. You ain't taking shit away.
Right.
So anyway.
But you're surprised that he has a grudge against you when you come up to him saying stuff like that?
No,
like
but
that?
If it was me, I'd respect it.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
No, I respect it. If a young man come into my studio and is like, Sloth, I'm coming for your spot, I'd be like, my guy, I will help you. I will help you. I ain't trying to be that guy who's 60, 50, doing that shit.
Right.
I'm just not. Like, I'm trying to evolve. I ain't trying to stand still. I'm never looking to stand still.
Do you think Westwood's been holding on to this gig for too long?
That's his vision. That's his passion. I'm not here to judge someone else's belief and ambition in life.
Right.
That's just not mine. If that's yours, that's fine. That's fine. But don't then try and put someone else down because they have a different view.
Okay.
Or they have different aspirations.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Some years later, the two would throw not so subtle jabs towards each other at the now defunct Rated Awards.
But real talk, I'm just a fanboy, man. Like, honestly, every day I got to pinch myself when I wake up. I'm like, shit, I'm Charlie Sloth, I'm fat, I'm good looking, I'm fucking rich, and I'm the best fucking DJ in Europe, man. Peace.
First things first, in case there's any presenters in here getting motherfucking gassed, it's your boy Westwood, hardest in the game, legends live forever, Tim Westwood TV, 4 billion video views deep. Don't get gassed. Thank you. Motherfuckers are getting it twisted nowadays.
Shit, you've had it too easy out there for too long. Shots fired!
After leaving BBC Radio, Tim joined Capital Radio's sister station, Capital Extra. During this time, it was back to business as usual, but in the background, something was brewing. There were many artists in the UK hip-hop scene who over the years felt that Tim had failed to support them like he supported the American acts and their scene. Tim simply wasn't interested. He wasn't interested until the grime scene exploded. But before that, he was not interested in pushing homegrown talent. Rapper Ty, who is sadly no longer with us, did not shy away from letting Tim have it and spoke publicly about his feelings when it came to promoting the UK scene and his alleged problematic behaviour within the black community. Ty was the first to do so publicly and others later followed. I know you are somewhere watching these developments, Ty. Rest in peace, sir. "2020 was a time where we were in the grips of a worldwide pandemic. There was uncertainty, and everyone was at home and locked into social media like never before. In June that same year, a viral hashtag, Surviving Tim Westwood, emerged on Twitter, where several women and other social media users detailed allegations of his alleged long-standing inappropriate and predatory behaviour within the black community. Significant figures in black British culture and beyond used Twitter to call for action. Media organisations, including Global, which owns Capital Extra, where Westwood worked at the time, were publicly urged on Twitter to investigate the claims, although they initially did not take action. In response, Tim reportedly blocked some individuals who asked him about the allegations. Later, a spokesperson for Tim denied all allegations, stating they were completely false. I often say social media is both a gift and a curse. On this occasion, it was a gift. The public discussion laid the groundwork for further journalistic investigation, eventually leading to a major BBC documentary. The documentary, titled Tim Westwood, Abuse of Power, first aired in the UK in April 2022 on BBC Three. More women came forward with allegations after the initial documentary, leading to a second documentary being aired, Hip Hop's Open Secret, Tim Westwood. This later led to the Metropolitan Police finally opening an investigation into allegations of non-recent sexual offences. Westwood was interviewed under caution multiple times, and a file of evidence was submitted to the Crown Prosecution Service. Earlier this year, his former employer, the BBC, published the findings of an independent review into Tim's conduct, which concluded the organisation missed opportunities to act on concerns about his bullying and misogynistic behaviour.
The BBC has issued an apology saying it fell short and failed people after an independent review into allegations against the DJ Tim Westwood found evidence of bullying and misogynistic behaviour. The report was commissioned in 2022 when 18 women made allegations of predatory and unwanted sexual behaviour, all strongly denied by Tim Westwood. The findings reveal there were several occasions when the BBC missed opportunities that might have led to action. Chichi Izundu reports.
Now that I'm older, realise that, it was grooming and predatory. But at that time, you didn't want the shame because, I'll get the blame. Not him. I'll get the blame because I'm no one. So I just kept quiet. Because then you won't get pointed and looked at, oh yeah, that's the girl that, accused, Tim of sexually abusing her when she was underage. I didn't know how old he was.
It was these stories from 18 black women who came forward in 2022 to detail what they described as unwanted predatory sexual behaviour and touching against the former BBC Radio 1 DJ Tim Westwood that triggered this report.
Welcome to the Radio 1 Rant.
Tim Westwood was known for his love of hip-hop, championing the genre on UK radio from the early 90s. The BBC today apologised, saying it fell short because the report found a considerable body of evidence that it failed to investigate properly. Today's report did find that there was no widespread or significant knowledge about the allegations, but it is critical about how BBC management handled complaints about Tim Westwood, highlighting that a response to some of the incidents it found could have been a referral to police. In response to today's report, the BBC board stated there is evidence of bullying and misogynistic behaviour. The organisation fell short and failed people, including our own staff, who had a right to expect better from us.
It's Westwood!
Tim Westwood started work in Radio 1 in 1994 and left in 2013. The report concluded his departure was in part down to his behaviour. Tim Westwood is currently performing at nightclubs in Nigeria. He declined to take part in the report because of the ongoing investigation by the Metropolitan Police. Through his lawyers, he's denied the allegations.
In October 2025, the Crown Prosecution Service announced that the 68-year-old had been charged with rape and sexual offences, 9 counts of indecent assault, 2 counts of sexual assault, 4 counts of rape. These relate to reported non-recent offences between 1983 and 2016 involving 7 women.
Talk about the former BBC Radio 1 DJ, Tim Westwood. He's charged with sexual offences against 7 different women that allegedly took place over a period of 33 years. He appeared at Westminster Magistrates Court earlier today to hear the charges. And Julian Drucker is there for us now. Julian, good evening to you. Can you remind us of the details of this case?
Hi there, Tessa. Yeah, a very short court appearance for Tim Westwood, the start of the court process for him. The 68-year-old is a renowned rap and hip-hop DJ. Used to be on BBC Radio 1, but latterly on Capital Extra and had shows on MTV as well. Now, he appeared here this morning after he was charged last month. In October, he was charged with 4 counts of rape, also 9 counts of indecent assault, and 2 counts of sexual assault. Now, at the time, the Crown Prosecution Service said that allegations were being made by 7 women. Some of them were 17 at the time of the alleged claims. The years in question spanning from 1983 to 2016. And in court, it was the usual procedure for hearings like this. He spoke only to confirm his name, his address, and his date of birth as well.
And Julian, the court was told that Tim Westwood's only been back in the UK for a short amount of time.
Yes, we were told he's just flown in from Nigeria. He only came back last week. His lawyer said he spends a lot of time outside the UK at the moment. He was granted bail, but there was one single condition to it, that he shouldn't contact any of the prosecution witnesses. Fairly standard for a case like this. And his barrister also told the court that he's a man of good character. She said that he has cooperated with the police investigation and has been interviewed 5 times. He wasn't asked to enter a plea, but has previously denied all of the claims. And Tessa, Tim Westwood was told he must appear before a Crown Court next month.
My first introduction to Tim Westwood goes way, way back to when he had a show on Capital Radio in the late 80s. I was in primary school at the time, and the boys in my class were into hip-hop heavy. They had older siblings who would listen to Tim's show. And me being curious, I thought one day I'd tune in. So I did. That was when I was first introduced to LL Cool J's music. Then later on in the 90s, I would tune into his show on and off on BBC Radio up until the late 2000s. Now, I didn't know anything about Tim's life outside of him being on radio. I didn't know anything about the rumours. I knew nothing. All I knew was that he produced a show that I loved. He played the music that I loved. He interviewed artists that I loved. Other than that, I didn't know anything else about him. However, thinking back, Tim always struck me as a loner. He was way older than everyone in the room, but behaved like he was a man in his early 20s, like most aging figures in hip hop. He had this forced New York street twang and came across as being a workaholic. He didn't seem to have a life outside of his work. No significant other was ever mentioned. He never spoke or mentioned anything about relatives being present in his life, never spoke about friends. He just seemed to be alone in the world. This is just the impression I got from listening to his shows. I remember listening to a show and it was like a week before Christmas. And he mentioned that his team would be going home to spend time with their families while he would be spending Christmas alone in a hotel. Like, there was no mention of visiting family or friends during the Christmas period, nothing. He also looked quite sickly, very pale and thin most of the time, like he needed a good meal and some sleep. He actually looked like a man who survived off energy drinks and coffee. But anyway, it wasn't until years later when I met people who expressed their disdain for him. People who had been around him, people who had interacted with him, people who knew Tim away from the radio, and people who were aware of his alleged troubling behaviour throughout the years. I was out of the loop. So when I heard all this, I was shocked. I was like, no way, not Tim. Then in 2020, allegations that I had heard from others years before were now all over social media. Alleged survivors were sharing their stories, their tweets went viral, and ultimately piqued the interest of mainstream media outlets. In an interesting turn of events, or some might say a disturbing turn of events, Tim has been thrown a lifeline via Nigeria. Promoters there, who clearly aren't fazed by the serious allegations and charges of sexual assault and rape, have embraced him, and Tim is now spinning records all over Lagos, looking like a man lost, longing to go back to the good old days. 1 minute, you're on top of the world. The next, facing allegations of historical sexual abuse and rape, possibly facing a prison sentence, and no longer in a position of power and privilege, specifically in the black music and culture space. Life really does come at you fast. That concludes today's episode. But for more news, views and thoughts, follow me on Instagram Mad News UK, Twitter Mad News UK, and madnewsuk.com.